Welcome to the live performance of 13 Seconds in Kent State, Episode 3 from the Outcasts Creative. Please do subscribe to our channel for future episodes and other online performances and video blogs. During the live performance, 2 cast members will act as cover for any members of the company who experience technical difficulties. Should the performance be halted for any reason, we will attempt to resume it as soon as possible. The following story is based on events that took place between 1970 and 1975 in the state of Ohio. It is based on eyewitness accounts, interviews, transcripts, and written testimony. Several characters and events have been combined to simplify the narrative and for dramatic purposes.
Hi, I'm Billy. If you have things to do while I'm talking, you just go ahead and listen to me like I'm the radio playing while you're doing the dishes. So my mom and pop could tell you I always had a practical approach to everything, even when I was a kid. Growing up in the rain on the shores of Lake Erie. It's about 50 miles east of Cleveland. It's beautiful country there, so you really get to embrace the outdoors or go sailing, if you know what I mean. Age date, I joined the Cub Scouts, and I learned to play the cornet. And by 5th grade, I was playing in the Larkmore School Orchestra and was captain of the school safety patrol. Saying that out loud now, the irony is not lost on me. So I couldn't play football because of my commitments to the band. So I played basketball, and I did track and cross country. And yeah, I was an Eagle Scout with all the badges. I guess you could say something I was a bit of an overachiever at a young age. I guess in the eyes of many, I was your real blue blood all-American. In the 60s, I grew up on a diet of John Wayne and TV shows like Combat and Gunsmoke, but who would have guessed it? I ended up wanting to study geology. I know, right? I was interested in the cause and effect of things. So when I applied for a Rothschild scholarship, I knew I was signing my life away for 10 years, but I figured if it paid for my university, and I guess I thought, if I could work out what caused war, then maybe I would find out a way of preventing them from happening in the first place. So I transferred from Colorado to Kent State because I changed my major from geology to psychology. I took a whole host of jobs, and I met loads of new people and made new friends. But I never met Sandy, Jeff, Alan, Dean, Tom Grace, or any of the other kids that you will have got to meet. I've seen Allison around. I think every boy on campus had seen Allison at some point. My parents liked me to write, and I was especially close to my mom. And back in the early part of 1970, before the events of May, I'd write her every week.
Lou, we got another letter here from Bill.
Oh, read it out loud to me, Floria. I'm doing something real important here.
Sure. Dear Flory Dory, why does he always call me that?
He told you when he was 8. He's the president of the Flory Dory fan club.
Well, with his gift for writing, I don't doubt he could be president of this country one day.
You gonna read it out or not?
Dear Flory Dory, here's my second letter from my Kent extension. I've been studying hard for my military history midterm.
Oh, I bet he has. Our boy knows the date of every battle from Gettysburg to the Siege of Bastogne. He'll pass with flying colors.
Now, you want me to read this or not?
Sure, honey. Continue.
We had a fantastic last-minute party last night.
Party? God. The next thing you know, we'll be grandparents.
Now, Lou, you know full well Billy would never cheat on young Nancy. I'm sure that he's going to marry that girl.
You mean you hope he is?
Oh, well. Don't worry, my grades have been good, and I've been working hard and listening to some of those free records I got sent.
Records? I hope it's not more of that damn hippie music.
I don't think so, honey. He sent me a list of them, and I don't think anyone could call the best of the Supremes hippie music. And don't you be thinking I don't know you had a thing for that Florence Ballard.
Oh, yeah, that's just because she shares the same name as you, sweetheart.
I wrote to Aunt Emma and Aunt Wilma a real long letter, and I'm saving my pennies in a Morton salt dispenser for the more distant member of the Schroeder clan. Now, isn't that just so typical of Bill? He always spends his savings on other people. I've joined the ROTC band, and believe it or not, I've started writing poetry.
Poetry? Oh boy, write poetry? Well, now I know there must be a new girl on the scene. Hey, you want to see the girls downtown his age? All wearing flowers in their hair? I seen this one girl in the supermarket, and she was pregnant as the day is long. And a little belly sticking out from under her top, and you know what she had painted on it?
No, what?
Love child. Oh, we best be having that birds and the bees talk with Bill when he gets home next weekend.
Lou, I had that chat with Bill when he was 16.
Yeah, you did?
Yes, of course I did. I didn't think I was going to let him go off to Colorado without having that conversation. And trust me, there will be no grandchildren for a while yet.
Yeah, well, what else does he say?
I sent Nancy a Valentine's card last week. You see, he doesn't have any time for other girls. We write to each other every week, and I get letters from all the Schroeders west of the Mississippi. Everyone jokes I get fan mail. I get so many. Anyway, I best get on. Keep being Flory #1. Love, Bill.
Well, does that make me Lou #2? I don't know if I like the sound of that.
You already met my parents during the trial, but I wanted you to have the chance to know them as I did. They were the best parents a child could ask for. My mom was right. I was loyal to Nancy. I took on 2 jobs to make money on the side because I wanted to buy her something real nice, you know? So my friend's sister got me one of them at this place near the campus.
So, William.
Oh, please call me Billy.
Billy it is. So, Billy, the shifts are at 6 till 9, and that's 3 nights a week.
Oh, sounds great. I mean, I do have basketball practice on Saturdays.
Oh, basketball, huh? I thought you looked like the athletic type. I had you marked as a football player.
This training didn't fit around my schedule, not with, my ROTC commitments, so.
Oh, ROTC. So does that mean you may go to Vietnam?
Well, with the scholarship, they got me for 10 years, but I hope by the time I graduate, that war will be over by then.
Back in Worcester, we had a whole bunch of guys from my high school already come back in boxes.
No, really?
3 of them. 2 in the last 6 months. So 2 of them died from a crash from a helicopter. 1 had his legs clean blown off from a landmine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
This goes to show, you never know when it's your time. So what are you doing Sunday?
Hopefully my girl's coming up to see me.
Oh. Is that the girl Jean was talking about that from your high school?
Yep, one and the same.
Did I see her drop you off at campus the other day?
Oh God, no, that was my mom.
And there was me thinking you had a thing for older women, huh? Well, you can't blame a girl for trying. So, how are you folks now?
Oh, just fine. Happy with life. It is. Happy. And my parents were happy once. Imagine all our parents were. For all our families, there's 2 halves to our lives. There's life before May 4th and life afterwards. Before where anything seemed possible, and afterwards where everything, I guess you don't need me to paint you a picture. Florence and Louis Schroeder, who sat in that restaurant down from the block of the Cleveland courthouse in 1975 with their newfound friends, the Shoyers, they were not the same people I knew at all. Just a couple of weeks into that trial, and it was already beginning to take its toll. Grief is a difficult process for anyone, and it was 5 years on, and they were still in the early days of theirs. They wouldn't know it as they sat across from Sanders' mom and pop, just how proud I was for their strength and resilience that they were able to muster that summer, especially as the trial would cut their wounds of loss even deeper. They lost their son. They found a camaraderie where they didn't want one. I was grateful to the Shoyers for that.
Right, here are your menus. Now, the special today is meatloaf, grits, and gravy.
Oh, I think we're gonna need a couple more minutes, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, sure, no hurry.
Can we get a couple of butts, please?
A couple of bucks.
Budweisers?
Oh, buds! Yeah, coming right up.
Martin, don't you think it would be better to wait until we get home to start drinking?
Nope.
The evidence speaks for itself, Mr. Kelner. Waitress, another bottle of your finest, sweetheart.
We'll find somewhere else to eat.
But Louie just got here.
I'm not eating in the same establishment as those men.
Well, I'm staying. We've let those people drag our children's names through the mud. Are we gonna let them choose where we eat too?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Schroeder. Those people, they make me forget my manners.
Oh, please, Louis, call me Sarah. I think we all know each other well enough by now to be on first name terms.
I just wish we'd met you all under different circumstances.
Amen to that.
Things are as they are, and there's nothing we can do about that. I will say one thing, though. In this whole god-awful nightmare, meeting such fine people as yourselves and the Krauses and Mrs. Holstein has been, well, it's just...
Honey, we understand. We do, don't we?
Your young Sandra. I heard the boys talking earlier about her. It sounded as though she was very highly thought of.
Yeah. Oh, here. This is my favorite photograph of her. You know, everyone called her Sandy.
So pretty. I wonder what she was thinking when she had this taken.
You know, that is a question I've asked myself 1,000 times. I call it her Mona Lisa photograph.
Your son, William, sounded like a fine young man, Louis.
He was
Here.
a fine boy. The finest any father could ever hope to have. He wasn't part of no anti-war movement neither. I won't stand for them damn lawyers calling him a communist in that courtroom.
Louis.
What? He wasn't. I'm just saying is all. He was just on his way to class, for fuck's sakes.
Louis Schroeder. I've never heard you use such language in all the years we've been married. Please don't start with it today. I won't have it.
My apologies, everyone. I've just so much anger in me. I don't know where to direct it sometimes, you know?
No apology needed. It's okay. We understand.
You're preaching to the converted at this table, sir, believe me. Sometimes I think we shouldn't have the same legal counsel as others. But our children, they weren't even there to protest. They were just innocent bystanders on their way to class.
Yeah, I had a similar thoughts myself when this whole thing started, but
But what?
But then I remembered why we fought in the last war, because so our children could have that very right to protest. I mean, it's what lies at the very heart of democracy. It's in our Constitution. And if we separate ourselves, then what message does that send to the defense? That it's okay for soldiers to shoot at students protesting as long as no one else gets in the way? Martin, I fired that gun. I know how much damage it can do. That never should have been used that day, not under any circumstances. And if we divide ourselves, if we fall for their divide and conquer tactics, then our Bill really would have died for nothing.
That's why I love my husband. He doesn't say much, but when he does speak, it's normally worth listening to.
All right, here you beers. There you go. Now, are you guys ready to order?
I think I'll have a steak. Medium rare. If it's good enough for them, it is sure as hell good enough for us.
Yeah, me too.
2 meatloaf specials.
Okay, so that is 2 steaks, medium rare, and 2 of our specials. Look, I know y'all be the parents to those kids that were killed a few years back at Kent. My brother was killed over there in 72, and to this day, I still don't know why. And I have to listen to people telling me that my brother's a child killer and he died for nothing. My brother was no child killer. Just like your kids were no communists. Sorry. I just wanted to tell you that. Let me get this order for you. I'll make sure you get the finest cups we have.
That's what they say, isn't it? Such you can always depend on the kindness of strangers.
Yeah. We're leaving her a big tip.
Yeah.
So, who's next on the stand?
Next on the stand was one Myron Pryor. Some say he was the one who ordered the firing, and he was suddenly photographed doing just that. It's kind of easy to pick out on account of his somewhat short size. And Mr. Kelner, using his, angle the photograph to the jury technique that he discussed with Mr. Sindel in the bar, he was ready to take him on.
All rise. Please place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the jury, please.
Myron Pryor.
Now, the man standing forward in this picture pointing his .45 pistol down the hill will be you, wouldn't it, sir?
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, but you state you never fired your weapon on May 4th?
That's correct.
Well, Sergeant Barry Morris has testified that you fired your pistol several times into the air as warning shots when you're on the practice field.
I can only say that Sergeant Morris must have been mistaken.
Well, when you were on the practice field, several of the guardsmen in G Troop dropped to a prone firing position and pointed their weapons at the students.
I believe they did, yes.
Well, did you order them to do that?
I don't believe I ordered them to do anything.
We've heard from several witnesses who say shortly after this and just before G Troop began to march back up the hill, that several of those same men formed into a sort of a huddle where they had a conversation for a couple of minutes. Were you party to that conversation?
I remember we were told by General Canterbury to march back to the Rothsey building in a wedge formation. I don't remember anyone saying anything else.
Well, was there a discussion of any kind between the enlisted men or any other orders issued of any kind?
Not to me.
You didn't even pass on General Canterbury's order to march back up the hill?
Didn't have to. Everyone heard it for themselves.
Well, you must have all had excellent hearing then. So you'll march back up the hill, and just as you reach the top, you and several others turn and you fire. Objection! The witness has already stated that he didn't even fire his weapon. My apologies, Your Honor. Mr. Pryor, what made you suddenly turn around on the hill and draw your weapon?
I saw my men begin to turn, and I turned with them at the same time.
What did you do with your pistol?
I just pointed it, sir.
Well, pointed it where?
At no one in particular. There was a tree. I remember there was a tree in front of me. I just pointed it.
Well, was that tree a threat to your life?
But several of the students on the hill that day were.
Okay. So if the students were such a threat, why not point your weapon at them instead of the tree? Or did you consider the tree more dangerous?
Objection. Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Withdrawn. Mr. Pryor, you claim your weapon wasn't loaded on May 4th?
That's correct. I had 14 rounds of ammunition in my pouches, but I never loaded the weapon all day.
So if your weapon wasn't loaded and the students were causing you to fear for your life, what good was it to point an unloaded gun at them?
Well, they weren't supposed to know it wasn't loaded.
Mr. Pryor, with your excellent hearing, did you hear at any point an individual shout the words, "Turn around and fire 3 rounds"?
I didn't hear those words or any other orders given at that time at all.
Well, the shots you heard came from close to your proximity?
Yes, sir.
What did you interpret the shots to mean at the time in question?
That live rounds were being fired.
So naturally, you realized your fellow soldiers were firing.
No, sir.
No?
No, I wasn't aware any live ammunition had been issued to the men that day.
Oh, bullshit.
Silence in court. Silence in
Bullshit,
court. I
what
will
the-
have silence in my courtroom. Proceed, Mr. Kelner.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you wheeled around, did you hear the shots immediately, or did you move forward from the position you were in when you first turned?
I don't remember moving forward, sir.
Okay, I'm showing the witness 2 photographs, one taken by Howard Ruffner and the other by John Darnell, who was slightly to Mr. Ruffner's left. Now, do they not show, Mr. Pryor, that you and some of your men have moved several paces forward as you fired?
Objection! The witness cannot speculate on what the pictures show. Your Honor, the photographs will speak for themselves.
Yes, quiet, Mr. Kelner. I have already told you that the witnesses cannot comment on the photographs. The jury can see what they show at the appropriate time and make up their own minds.
I've seen enough of this bullshit. You want to run a trial like this? Go to goddamn Chile.
I would ask if anyone's going to leave my court, whether they will do so quietly and without causing any interruption. You please proceed, Mr. Kelner.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Pryor, the FBI tells us that the second of these pictures shows your .45 pistol in the slide back position, something that only happens after all the rounds have been expended. If you didn't fire your pistol, then how would that happen?
I don't know. Maybe I cocked it. I don't remember.
Well, isn't it a fact that your pistol went missing after you handed it back in?
I personally don't recall.
Mr. Pryor, you're aware that the drawing of a pistol by an officer or NCO can be interpreted by enlisted men as a signal to fire?
Yes, I'm aware, but that was not my reason for drawing my weapon that day.
For an NCO to draw his weapon in front of his men is not common practice unless he intends to use it, is it?
No, sir.
It's against the combat doctrine in the O-Plan regulations, isn't it?
So I'm told. I can't say I've spent much time reading the O-Plan regulations.
Yeah, that much is evident. No further questions.
I think it's fair to say that Sergeant Myron, Pryor, and myself had very different approaches to our military training. That is to say that I took my time with the ROTC very seriously, and he, well, I think he just thought it would be fun to be a weekend warrior. My understanding is that the man never served in actual combat, who, when it goes to the troops who were there that day, went for most of the enlisted men. Now, over the next few days, Joe Kelner and his team grilled one of them after another, and after a while, those guardsmen, they all just started to sound the same.
You were being hit by missiles?
Yes, sir. We were being hit by missiles from every direction.
And you were in fear for your life?
Yes, sir. We were terrified.
Previously, you had stated that you had heard Sergeant Pryor say on the practice field, if they rush us, shoot them.
I don't recall that, sir.
It's in your deposition to the grand jury.
I don't remember saying that, okay?
So, you lied to the grand jury? Is that it, Mr. Pierce?
Objection! Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Sergeant Pierce, did any rocks on the hill strike you?
Yes, sir. They were coming at us from all over the place.
Private McGee, were you wearing your glasses under your gas mask on May 4th?
No, sir.
Would you remove them for me, please, and tell me how many fingers I'm holding up in my right hand?
3 or 4, sir.
Let the record show that I'm standing approximately 10 feet away from the witness, and I'm holding up no fingers at all in my right hand.
Private Farris, did you see anything at that time, just prior to the shooting, that led you to believe your life was in danger?
No, sir. I certainly couldn't see any student near to my position.
Mr. Herschler, you claim that you didn't fire your weapon on May 4th?
That's correct, sir. Not the once.
Mr. Herschler, we have depositions from 2 other defendants and a Justice Department report that states you had fired your weapon on May 4th. How can those witnesses and that report be mistaken?
After I signed for my rifle on April the 29th, I swapped my M1 rifle for a shotgun, and then again for another M1. I then swapped that rifle for another with Ronnie Meyer's PFC.
Why did you find it necessary to change your weapon so many times?
Well, I don't know. It was a common thing. Some of the rifles were old and unreliable.
Yeah, a bit like some of the guardsmen.
Mr. Sir, you were a captain at the time of the shootings on Blanket Hill?
That is correct, sir, yes. Although I'm currently a major in the National Guard.
Congratulations. You were the senior officer in charge of G Troop on May 4th?
Yes, that is correct.
And as we know, G Troop are the men who fired their weapons that day, so any order to fire should have come through you?
That is correct, though, of course, men are trained to take the initiative in a combat situation.
I see. So you viewed Kent State as a combat situation on May 4th?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Captain Sir, I'm sorry, Major. What did you view the situation as on May 4th?
We were dealing with a dangerous and hostile crowd and had to be prepared to use force if threatened.
I see, because in your statement to the FBI, you said, and I quote, "The lives of the guard were not in danger, and it was not a shooting situation." Could you elaborate on that statement?
Yes. I was referring at the time to the area in front of us, but there was a threat of danger around the corner of Taylor Hall.
Could you justify for me, sir, what you mean by a threat of danger?
There was a mass of students there, several hundred, I think, quite close to us.
Okay, well, if we look at photograph exhibit 1256, where exactly is this danger?
Objection! Your Honor, as you have already clearly stated, the photographs will speak for themselves.
Yes, Mr. Kelner, this line of questioning is becoming somewhat repetitive.
I'm trying to establish the facts, Your Honor.
Do they do it this way back east?
I wasn't born there, Mr. Brown. I was born across the lake at Des Moines, Iowa, just a little further out west from here.
I think it was fair to say that Joseph Kelner was in a combat situation of his own in that courtroom in 1975. Now, they were about halfway through the case when Libby, Joe's wife, really began to see the toll the trial was taking on her husband. Even after his day in court, he'd be up every night pouring through depositions in their little Cleveland apartment.
Joe, why don't you take tomorrow off? I'm sure the other lawyers could manage without you for one day.
Oh, Libby, I can't do that. We've Captain Snyder on the stand tomorrow. He's a key witness. I'm the one cross-examining him.
So then we could go home for the weekend. A couple of days in New York would do you good. You could bring Robert up to speed.
Come on. You know I don't have the time for that.
Galen, I'm going to bed. Please make sure he doesn't stay up too late.
I will, Mrs. Kelner. Could I use your phone before I leave to call and wish my kids good night? Just feels like I haven't seen them in weeks.
Well, of course you can, dear. Why, you're practically family now. Good night, Joe.
Good night, honey.
Joe, I just found something in the deposition that Captain Snyder gave to the grand jury that you're just gonna love.
Show me.
Call your next witness.
If it pleases the court, we call Captain Snyder to the stand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you're ready, Mr. Kelner.
Mr. Snyder, you were a captain at the time we are concerned with in charge of Company C at Kent State, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And the Commission on Campus Unrest produced a report in September of 1970 on the events of May 4th. Are you familiar with that findings of the report?
Maybe. I cannot recall the details of it.
Okay, well, let me refresh your memory, because they concluded, and I quote, "Even if the guardsman faced danger, it was not a danger that called for lethal force. 61 shots by 28 guardsmen certainly cannot be justified. There was inadequate fire control discipline on Blanket Hill. The Kent State tragedy must mark the last time that, as a matter of course, loaded rifles are issued to guardsmen confronting student demonstrators."
Actually, I think you'll find 67 shots were fired, although not by any soldier under my direct command. Their discipline was exemplary, and in fact, they showed great restraint considering the threat they were facing.
I see. Well, we'll look at your own restraint in just a moment. Now, I have a map here which shows your company moved across the commons around the flank, so to speak, and took up position between Taylor Hall and Prentice Hall with a view of the parking lot?
That is correct.
So you and your men were not on the hill when the shots were fired and couldn't see Blanket Hill from where you're positioned?
We couldn't see it, no. Our view was restricted to the parking lot and the far end of the practice field.
Right, so when you and your men first moved out across the commons about 10 minutes before the shooting, you were seen to beat a student over the head with your baton, were you not?
I may have done, yes. They were refusing to leave the commons as we had ordered them to do so. So we took what we thought was the relevant action necessary.
Well, maybe the students you hit were just going to class.
Objection! Speculation!
Withdrawn. In your view, what would be cause for a show of self-defense from your men?
If a person tried to take his weapon away or use such a weapon against him.
Well, did any student try and grapple with the man under your command in such a manner?
No, they did not.
Would a rock thrown at one of your men, say from 60 feet away, be a good reason to open fire?
No, it would not.
Okay, well, is it a fact, Mr. Snyder, that in your testimony before an investigative agency, you stated that a student who had struck out with you was found to be carrying brass knuckles upon his person?
Yes.
Objection! We request that Your Honor rule Mr. Kelner not be allowed to develop anything beyond the actual words of the grand jury testimony itself.
Counsels for both parties, approach the bench.
Mr. Kelner cannot invite the witness to impeach himself, Your Honor, by asking what his purpose was in telling the grand jury that he found those items.
He previously admitted he lied, Your Honor, for the purposes of framing up a defense for the shootings.
I'm not sure those were his exact words, Judge.
Okay, then. Let's have his exact words read out so the jury can hear exactly what he did say. Or shall I continue, Your Honor?
You may continue, Mr. Kelner. Make sure you stick to the questions and answers contained in the federal grand jury record.
Mr. Snyder.
Captain Snyder.
Mr. Snyder. There never were any knuckle dusters found on any student that day, were there?
No.
In fact, you made it all up, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
My God! This is outrageous!
They're trying to make our boy look like radicals.
I would have quiet in my courtroom. I will hold all the relevant parties in contempt.
Laurie, don't give him the satisfaction.
Believe me, Sarah, I've been biting my tongue so hard it's gonna fall off.
Do you lie? Now, why would you do that, Captain Snyder?
Well, after the shootings, there was this conversation between 2 or 3 people in the orderly room, and there was some kidding going on, and I think I made a statement to the effect that I have the answer to this problem. It is self-defense. I was kidding about it at the time, and I didn't really think that much about it. Sometime later, however, I found myself locked into that story, and that's how it came about. But it started out as a kidding kind of thing because everyone was quite concerned about the legal ramifications and actions against us.
I'm a loss. Kidding. Now, let me just see that I have this correct, Mr. Snyder, because maybe it's because I'm from back east, but I don't think we have quite the same sense of humor when it comes to kidding around and shooting people dead where I come from. When you were in the orderly room, who else was there?
I think myself, Captain Thompson, probably some others. I can't remember now.
Was General Canterbury there?
I believe he was, yes.
Okay, well, is it not true that General Canterbury, when he discovered weapons had been recovered from the bodies, his response to this was, "We should try and find some, don't you think?" You're looking a little pale, Captain. Would you like a glass of water?
I'm fine. I believe an opinion to that effect may have been expressed, but I cannot recall specifically what was said about whom.
How convenient.
It was said, I believe in previous testimony, that people were worried about being sued or other legal proceedings against them. Is that about the size of it?
Yes, those views were expressed.
Okay. And you then said, I have the answer to this whole thing. Look what I found, some brass knuckles and a gun. Is that right?
Yes, so those views were expressed.
Right, so you not only planted these brass knuckles, but also a gun on the body of Jeff Miller. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Damn, I'm glad Elaine's not here today to hear this.
And did you say that the justification for this claim of self-defense would be that the common story you'd all give is that you were in fear for your lives?
Objection! Mr. Snyder and the men of Company C, Your Honor, they didn't even fire their weapons that day.
Sustained. Mr. Kelner, this line of questioning is becoming repetitive.
Repetitive, Your Honor?
Well, he has, in essence, already answered that question. And I'm not going to permit questions to this witness about conversations that occurred beyond the events on the Kent State campus. That is something that is beyond the scope of this courtroom.
Unless, Your Honor, others were present and there was complicity between them.
Mr. Kelner, you will desist from this line of questioning, and the jury will ignore that last remark.
Very well. May I refer to his grand jury testimony, Your Honor, to elaborate as to what the story was?
No, you may not, Mr. Kelner. Those documents are already in evidence and will speak.
I know. Speak for themselves. No further questions, Your Honor.
When you're fighting a long war, every general will tell you that even the little victories count. And Kelner and his team, they did well to that evidence about the planting of the weapons out in court. Charlie Brown certainly didn't look like a happy man that day. And later that evening, back at base camp, there was a feeling that something solid had been achieved that day. It was nice to see my parents smile for a change. It's the first time they had done so since they'd started the trial.
Here he is, man of the hour.
Hey, Joe! All right.
You were smoking today, Chief.
Oh, you did my boy proud today in that courtroom, Mr. Kelner.
Thank you. But it's too soon to be celebrating. The war's not over yet. And hey, where did all this alcohol come from?
You're in a room full of students, Kelner. Give us some credit.
That was the first time I had seen one of them scared up there.
Yeah, that was the first time I had really seen that Charlie Brown sweat.
You really? You had Snyder on the ropes there, Mr. Kelner. I wish Alan had seen it.
Well, if I could have got everything out, I'd feel a whole lot better about it, Joe, but thank you. Enjoy yourselves. God knows, we all need a drink. Listen, I'm just going to the kitchen, all right?
What's wrong, Joe? They say it went well today, didn't it?
Oh, Libby, after today, I have a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that, well, basically everything you said the other night about the judge was right. They can't afford to let us win this case. There's too much at stake for them.
What are you going to do?
I can't tell them that. I just never thought my faith in the justice system would find itself faltering to such a great degree.
Well, it's as you said, isn't it? I didn't marry a quitter, did I?
No, you sure didn't. At least Bobby's back next week.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
All rise. This court is now in session. Judge Young presiding.
Mr. Sindel will take the next witness.
Batter up. Your Honor, we call Captain John Martin to the stand. Captain Martin.
It's Major. I've been promoted.
Oh, well, congratulations. But you were a captain during the events at Kent State University on May 4th, 1970.
Yes, that is correct. When we deployed to Kent, I was commander of Company A.
And what is your occupation when you're not called to serve with the National Guard?
I'm a corn soybean farmer from just outside Worcester.
Prior to the events we're concerned with, what kind of experience did you have of dealing with crowd control?
We've been deployed previously during the Teamsters union strikes.
Right, and did you have any cause to use tear gas, bayonets, and bullets against the Teamsters?
We did not. They were something of a less antagonistic crowd, you might say. A little bit more respect for the uniform, you know?
Did you feel at any time that your life was in danger during the time you were deployed to those strikes?
No, sir, I did not.
How about on May 4th at Kent State? Did you feel personally there was a threat to your life or that of your men?
No, sir.
Who did you understand to be your senior officer in command of your troops that were deployed to Kent?
That would be a General Del Corso, sir.
Not Governor Rhodes.
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained. Mr. Sindel, not being from back east, you really should know better in my courtroom.
Sorry, Your Honor. I'm not up to date on the latest rule changes for today.
Mr. Sindel, one more remark like that, and I shall find you in contempt.
My sincerest apologies, Your Honor. Major Martin, you just said you did not fear for your life at that time on May 4th. With that answer in mind, I would like to turn to the rules of engagement, as you understood them to be on that day.
Okay. Fine.
Under what circumstances would a soldier under your command be permitted to discharge his weapon other than by direct order to fire from a senior officer?
In cases where his own life is in danger, or in the case where another person's life is in danger. Another circumstance may be, for example, if there's an inhabited building that's on fire. There may be others, but that's all I can remember for now.
Isn't it a fact that on May 4th you personally instructed your men that they could only fire as a last resort to protect the lives or the lives of a fellow guardsman?
That's correct. I did, sir, yes.
And did you see any reason why any man should have discharged his weapon on May 4th?
No, sir, I did not.
We've heard testimony from others about a barrage of rocks being thrown at the guardsman that day. Did you see any of your men hit by any rocks?
No, sir. Not the one. There was a bit of that at the beginning, but after we went over the hill and down to the practice field, most of the students were too far away from us to hit us with anything. I don't recall any of my men being hit at all.
Or assaulted?
No, sir.
You testified previously that the first shot was fired by a guardsman.
I can't specifically recall that.
Oh, well, let me refresh your memory then. I submit to you, sir, isn't it a fact that your first thought at that time was, what idiot is firing a weapon in this situation?
I cannot recall exactly what I said.
Sidebar, Your Honor.
Counsel may approach.
Your Honor, the witness said those very words in previous recorded testimony, and I respectfully request that he be directed to give this precise reply to my question.
Your Honor, those previous documents will be available for the jury to review at the appropriate time.
Respectfully, Judge, I disagree. You made a previous ruling that you permit us to use previous testimony to impeach witnesses if they were lying on the stand.
The major can't be said to be lying, Judge. Why, I myself can't remember what I did a year ago, let alone 4. He's done his best to answer the opposing counsel's questions.
Agreed. So, do you have any further questions then for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Well, I suggest you call your next witness then.
Who appointed this judge to the bench? Willy Wonka?
Brett, somehow I don't think our side's gonna be winning any golden tickets.
Call your next witness, Mr. Kelner.
We call Major Harry Smith to the stand.
If it pleases the court, I wish to inform those present here today that Major Smith is wearing glasses for a medical condition and no other reason.
Right. You think he was blind on the hill too?
Mr. Smith, You also held the rank of Major on May 4th, 1970?
Yes, that is correct.
Who were your commanding officers over those 4 days in May?
Well, that would have been General DeCorso and General Robert Canterbury, sir.
When you arrived on the campus on the Saturday night, what did you understand your mission to be?
Well, they, that is to say my superior officers, informed me our primary mission concerned the safety and security of the campus buildings.
When did you understand that mission to be expanded to include dispersal of crowds on campus?
That would have been on the middle of Sunday, following the meeting with Governor Rhodes.
Okay, you fulfilled the communication role between the Guard and University administration, did you not?
I think it's fair to say I performed a sort of function as a liaison between Vice President Matson, I think he was called, and Major Wallach on obtaining the information on exactly what the rule of law was regarding our ability as guardsmen to disperse the students on campus. We were given permission to do so, I might add.
Okay, thank you. But on the Sunday night before the fire of the ROTC building, did you have cause to confront any students early that night over a guard vehicle being parked on the university seal on the roadway?
Objection! Relevance?
I'm sure my good colleague will bring up the earlier events of the weekend. I'm simply doing the same, Your Honor.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I do recall a confrontation of some kind over a vehicle, but I cannot recall exactly what was said or by whom.
Well, Jim Vassarella recalls exactly what happened. You pulled out your sidearm and threatened to blow his head off.
Well, I can only say that this Mr. Veruca must have been mistaken. Perhaps his memory was affected, Your Honor, by smoking one of them funny cigarettes that the students are so fond of these days. No, sir, I don't recall this.
Yeah, well, he was pretty clear about it in his statement.
I would not pull my gun on someone, Counselor, unless I intended to use it, sir.
On May 4th, you moved out with Captain Snyder's C Company to disperse the crowd?
Yes, sir. Now that is correct. I went in the Jeep to the practice field where I consulted with the commanding officers of A Company and G Troop. I then recall we received orders to proceed back to the ROTC building, and we proceeded up the hill in the direction of the pagoda.
You said in previous testimony that you were in fear for your life.
Oh, yes, sir. That's correct. 100%.
When exactly?
Well, when we first moved out, when we deployed onto the practice field, and when we returned and were moving back up the hill. In fact, I can tell you now, Counselor, I personally became involved in a confrontation with a student who had the audacity, sir, to throw a rock at me.
During which time you were wearing your mask and helmet?
Yes, sir, as I said, in my disposition.
Okay, Mr. Smith, could you please, from the box next to you, you see there's one right next to you, could you please go into that, and would you place the helmet and the mask upon your head?
From the evidence box here, sir?
That's the one, sir. Thank you very much. If you please do that, please.
Okay,
please
just give me a second to put this on now.
Yes, sir. If you would do
Take
that.
your time, Major.
Now, please do it as you would normally do it in the course of your duty, sir.
Okay, how's that?
Can you hear me, Mr. Smith?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, barely.
Mr. Smith, would you step down from the witness box, please? Thank you. Now, the helmet you're wearing is called a still pot.
Yeah, that is correct. Can I take this mask off? It's getting kind of hot in here.
In a minute, sir. Please, just be patient. Now, Mr. Smith, did you hear anything then?
Yes, I believe you just made a sound. I can't see too well. The mask, it's got all steamed up inside.
Okay, Mr. Smith, you can take it off now. Thank you, sir. Take it off, sir.
I never liked these goddamn things much.
Well, Major, you don't wear them for fun.
No, sir, you don't.
Now, you aware of what just transpired?
Not exactly. Should I be?
Well, I struck you with a large rock, Mr. Smith, from only a few feet away, and you didn't feel a thing.
No, sir, that's correct.
Well, that's because the helmet is designed to roll on your head with such impact. Is that true?
That is correct, Counselor, yes.
When the firing started, you were just a few feet away from the guardsmen who were firing down the hill?
I believe I was, yes, sir. I had taken my helmet and gas mask.
Yeah. You said to the grand jury that the firing had been, in your opinion, indiscriminate and
Objection! Once again, Mr. Kelner is using the grand jury testimony in an attempt to impeach the defendant, Your Honor.
Your Honor, new federal rules of evidence due to come into effect July 1st, that is from tomorrow, have direct bearing on this issue.
Yes, Rule 606. Credibility of a witness may be attacked by any party, including the party calling him for...
It's Rule 607, but that's the one, yes, Your Honor.
Yes, 607. I stand corrected, Mr. Sindel. Thank you very much. Nevertheless, I'm not going to stand. I'm going to stand by my guns on this issue. And I'm not going to permit questioning along this line.
I'm not sure I follow your reasoning, Judge.
Mr. Kelner, please approach the bench. You see, I'm concerned that the truth is not coming out in this case.
As are we, Your Honor.
So we.
And that mere technicalities, such as new federal rules of evidence, are not the essence of the law. I don't propose to govern my trial by listening to a bunch of theorists and their attempts to reduce the law to something, well, you can put into a computer.
Your Honor, this witness testified previously that the firing was against the guard's own regulations. He said that Sergeant Pryor pointing his pistol could be interpreted as a signal to fire. Is there any way Your Honor can suggest a way to avoid a miscarriage of justice while we have diametrically opposed bits of testimony to establish what the truth is?
In the first place, I don't think we have diametrically opposed bits of testimony on this matter. So I am not going to worry about that. You have this federal grand jury stuff for discovery, but I will not allow it to be brought up in this manner again.
Your Honor, this is a miscarriage of justice.
I've made my ruling.
Yeah, you have. Your witness.
Major Smith, you came under a vicious attack from various objects and missiles, did you not?
Excuse me, Counselor, sorry, it's getting mighty hot in here. I just need to take my jacket off. Would you repeat the question, sir?
Of course, Major. When you were making your way up Blanket Hill, you came under a vicious attack from various objects and missiles. Is this correct?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me tell you something, Counselor. It was the most vicious and continuous barrage I have ever seen in all my years of service.
What kind of objects?
Oh, Counselor, we're talking all kinds. Golf balls studded with nails. We had like paper cups filled with dog excrement. That's dog shit, Your Honor. And then there was rocks bigger than the rocks you have over there. Some foam cups filled with concrete. Missiles of every kind. Then we searched the commons. That afternoon, we found a whole bunch more of those rocks.
My God. Let the record show that we have 10 more bags, just like this one, filled with rocks from the scenes. Now, not only did you come under a barrage, Major Smith, you also received shouts and obscenities as you made the way up Blanket Hill. Is that also correct?
Oh, yes, sir. There were chants and obscenities of all kinds. They were chanting things like kill pigs, kill, grab their guns, kill the men in green. My God, sir, it was an absolute atrocity to the uniform. I've never seen anything like it. Let me tell you, Counselor, this was the worst riot I had ever been involved in.
My God. Thank you for your service, Major. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Read the right briefly, Your Honor. There's no golf ball studded with nails in these bags, are there? You see?
Those bags there, not that I can see, sir, no.
Mr. Smith, can you tell me exactly where and when these rocks were collected?
I cannot.
So how do you know any of them came from Kent State?
Well, I can tell you, Counselor, that I collected several of those rocks myself, and I initialed them with my initials for chain of evidence.
Excellent. So would you please show the court which of the rocks in this bag has your initials on?
Well, that's an awful lot of rocks.
Well, let me save you some time, Mr. Smith, because my associate already checked all the bags, and none of the rocks have your initials on. So you can't say, can you, that these rocks aren't indigenous to the campus anyway, and that a search of the same area today might produce a similar bag of rocks?
No, I can't, Counselor.
Well, in fact, we can. Because these rocks we collected from the grounds of the university this very morning. And you'll find my initials on them and photographic evidence to match, which we'd like entered on the record as rocks you'd find on any day when walking the grounds.
How very nice for you, Mr. Kelner. Let me ask you something. I bet you're one of those people that collects gnomes.
Gnomes? I'm not sure what you mean, sir.
Gnomes, you know, the rock kind, the ones you put in your garden. Why don't you go and collect all them there rocks you got in those bags over there? Go and take them into your backyard back home. Put them around your pond with your little gnomes. Create yourself a rockery. These soldier in to us real men.
Your Honor, as Major Smith is making a mockery of the court, I have no further questions.
Nice job, boss.
Yeah, it's like pissing in the wind without trying to get your feet wet.
Glad you didn't sign up for National Guard service, huh? Well, after the enlisted men and the lower-ranking officers had finished giving their evidence, things were looking a bit better for Kelner and his team. But the next week, the students who were shot that day had to give evidence themselves. Joe decided that weekend that everyone should go and pay Kent State another visit. For some of them, it was the first time they'd been back since graduation. It was the weekend, so the campus was largely deserted, and Kelner walked them all to the top of the hill. And it wasn't until then that any of them actually asked what they were doing there.
Brought you here today because tomorrow in that courtroom, some of you are going to have to relive every moment of what happened here 5 years ago. The pain and the anguish you went through will all come flooding back, and the defense will be expecting that. They will want you to feel angry. They will want you to feel vulnerable, and they will do everything they can to exploit those feelings and bring them to the surface. In fact, they will be counting on it because your anger will be their greatest weapon, and they will want the jury to see it, to give them a taste of the rebellious aggression that they claim their clients were facing on that day. And no matter what they ask or how they provoke you, you must resist every temptation to give it to them.
Right, Joe. So everyone, try as best as you can to get a weekend of rest and get to sleep early on Sunday.
I haven't had a good night's sleep since May 1970.
We know it's hard, Florrie, but we need everyone fresh and alert come Monday morning.
You're not going to believe this.
Oh, if it involves a ruling by Judge Young, believe me, then nothing would surprise me.
No. Once. No. This is a list of the defense exhibits, and it includes, somewhat surprisingly, a letter seized in Robert Stamp's dormitory shortly after the shootings.
But that search was found to be illegal.
What's in the letter?
I won the federal injunction against the search myself. The judge will have to rule it inadmissible.
Yeah, but will someone please tell me what's in this letter?
What I thought of the guard, the killings, what I wanted to do to them. Ugh, I wrote the thing the night of the shootings. I'm afraid I wasn't able to be unemotional at that time.
I'm guessing it's not too complimentary about the guard then.
Not especially, no.
But surely we can rule it inadmissible.
You can't be sure of anything with that judge.
Fred, can you file another motion?
To suppress, I'm already on it, Joe.
Right.
Anyone wants to go over anything, myself and Galen, we're going to be available as late as necessary. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, I could do with going over my statements.
Yeah, I'll definitely need some help, Galen.
Oh, I bet. You can carry Galen's folders.
Gets to buy her an apple.
Guys, please knock it off. I'm trying to play it cool.
Hey guys, come on. Joe, could you carry my phone?
Hey, she has him well trained already.
I haven't been back here in a long time. I want to go down to the parking lot.
Okay, hon, but let me come with you, okay?
I'd like that. Would you walk us there, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'll see you lot back at base camp, okay?
Yeah, see you later, Joe.
Yeah, I'll see you later. I'm sorry, Mrs. Schroeder. Was there something you wanted to say to us in private?
It's just that, well, coming down here and standing here, it's such a short walk from the hill to the parking lot. And I always thought it was longer. I'm standing here and I can't believe that it's been 5 years and they haven't done anything.
They, Mrs. Schroeder?
Oh, Florrie, Joseph.
Sorry. My formal habits as a lawyer die rather hard, I'm afraid.
She means they, as in the university administration. I mean, you would think that by now someone would have had some sort of memorial approved, a plaque or something.
Well, have they refused?
Yeah, pretty much. Alan and his father have been fighting for it from day one.
Then there was that damn gymnasium. Of all the insensitive things they could have done. They wanted to build it right over the car park originally. I was here with the protests against it. There were tents all over that there hill.
They agreed to move it slightly in the end. The whole thing, if you ask me, is a travesty.
Yes. And you know, they just don't want to admit their own culpability in everything that happened.
Well, I won't be letting former university president Robert Wyatt off that easy. We've got him on the stand the week after next.
Good. Be sure you don't.
Ladies, we really should be getting back now. I'll be working late as it is, and I'm sure Libby's got something cooking for all of us.
You know, I don't doubt it. Your wife is a saint, Mr. Kelner.
Oh, so everyone tells me.
Would you both mind giving me a minute? I know where you parked, Joe. I'll be along directly.
Of course. We'll wait by the car.
Sure.
I knew what my mom was thinking when she was standing there. That was the time I was having trouble with my car and she offered me a lift back to Kent on a can of pop bean at some Veterans Association or other. I could see her playing it through her mind like it were yesterday.
Here, Billy, take this.
Come on, Mom. My job at McDonald's, I'm doing all right. So please keep your money.
Well, I hear that my membership fees for the Floridori Club are due. So come on, Billy, take it.
Thanks, Mom.
If you don't want to spend it on yourself, take Nancy to the movies when she comes to visit next.
Well, I guess I do want to go see that Kelly's Heroes. It's supposed to be a hoot.
Oh, it's got Clint Eastwood in it.
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to Aunt Emma the other day and she said that you remind her so much of him.
She did not say that.
Oh, she did too. Eagle Scouts honor.
You can't do the Eagle Scout swear unless you're an Eagle Scout. Come on, Mom. I've told you this 1,000 times.
Oh, well, Floridori swear then.
Okay, that'll do. I'll accept that. So, Clint Eastwood, huh?
Ellie is kind of sexy in that Where White Doves Dare movie.
Where Eagles Dare, Mom. Where Eagles
Oh,
Dare.
all right, all right.
Oh, big one.
It's got a castle in it.
I thought you were more into the English dude in that movie anyway.
Oh, Richard Burton, he's got a sexy voice. I'll give him that, but no, Clint's the one for me. He's got that glint in his eye.
Clint, huh? Well, you best not mention that to Pop.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. And when we came out of that movie, your father wouldn't stop talking about that Mary Ure and that Ingrid Pitt woman.
That's how it is, huh? Okay.
Well, so are you and Nancy going to stay serious?
Oh, I think so. At least I miss it when I'm here. So.
Well, I thought that now you're a college man, all the girls would be throwing themselves at you. Handsome boy like you.
Clint Eastwood look alike.
Exactly.
Nah, to be honest, with classes, the ROTC, the band, music club, playing ball, working 2 jobs, and riding the Schroeder clan every week. I really don't have time to meet anyone outside of that. Besides, I think the girls around here like the whole John Lennon look, and I just really don't think the long hair will suit me.
You might be right. And probably wouldn't go down well with your ROTC instructor either.
No, probably not, no.
They're not going to send you off to Vietnam, are they?
No, I shouldn't think so. Besides, I'm that war will be over by then.
Good. I keep seeing our boys coming back in the box, and I don't want to think about that.
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't want to go there either. I'm not sure we should be there at all.
Really?
It's a conversation for another time, eh? I better go. Thanks for the lift.
Well, I'll see you soon.
Yeah. I'll come back second weekend in May, if I can get the car fixed.
Oh, if you can't, don't worry. I can come and pick you up.
What? So being president of your fan club comes with its own personal chauffeur service?
Well, only 4 times a year. Don't forget to write.
I won't. I love you, Floridari.
Love you too.
Oh, I forgot. I wrote you a poem.
Oh.
Maybe I'll win that Pulitzer Prize one day. Bye, Mom.
Poem. I never.
Now, I bet all you people listening out there, you think you got a pretty good handle on me, right? The jock, but, he's got a good heart, but he was going to be a soldier, He still might have gone to Vietnam or somewhere else just as bad. Active duty would have changed him. Yeah, maybe. Just, let me read you that little poem that I wrote for my mom. I joked about it, but, anyway, let me just, okay, it went like this. Sudden growth of an empathy, perhaps brought on by the gaining of years, the birth of a newborn sympathy for a mother's sorrows and fears, raising a son who was always attacking what you felt was needed regulation. How I see it, it was I who was lacking, ignoring the most sincere supplication. Days gone by shall never return, despite the most reverent of prayers. It is not all in vain, for I most certainly will learn from my previous conflicts and errors. Learning from the past is prime consideration. Your many influences shall linger and last to be passed on through to me, the next generation. I mean happiness too, thoughts and deeds worth preserving, accomplishing things you wanted me to for a mother so deserving. There are many wonderful things yet to be done. The thought of the future dominates any other. I promise to be a better son if you'll just stay the same as my mother. My first attempt, and she told me she loved it. It was bad enough our parents had to endure the loss of their children and the almost daily malicious phone calls telling them their son was a communist or their daughter was a whore. But the next woeful part of this tale, which still has worse in store for all concerned, I shall pass on to another wonderful human being to tell you, Sandra Schroeder. My name is William Knox Schroeder. Billy to my friends, Uncle Billy to my nephew David. I was an honor student at Kent State University. I wasn't a protester. I never attended any rallies on the campus or otherwise. But that year I had begun to question America's involvement in the Vietnam War for the first time. On May 4th, 1970, as I was walking to my next class, I stopped and looked at the guard retreating up that hill. Retreating. I was carrying on about my business when I heard the gunfire. I was shot in the chest by it at 332 feet while still holding my folder for my class in my hand by a bullet from an M1 Garand battle rifle. I reached hospital alive and underwent surgery, but died on the operating table. I was 19 years old. I achieved many things in my short years. I'd hoped to do so much more. Who knows what I could have accomplished? Maybe I could have got that Pulitzer for Floridari. Don't take your time in for granted. Go out there, make your mark, and I am sure you will achieve great things. Do it for your Uncle Billy now, yeah? Anyway, I gotta go. My mailbox is the busiest in this place, and it's practically a post office. So, love from your Billy, president of the Flari Dari fan club.
That concludes the third part of 13 Seconds in Kent State.